Hello everyone, today is August 6th, 2011, and I thought I'd bring you down here to the garden to give you an update, show you what's growing, show you what's been ripped out, what's not growing. So let's get started. So this is the garden. Looks the same. However, if we pan over here real quick, you see this. I don't know if anybody remembers this in my last video, or a couple videos probably ago, or maybe the farm video. There used to be all kinds of wood and junk and metal pieces and big beams laying, right in this area. Well, the other day, about 2 weeks ago, I cleaned all. I spent half a day cleaning it all up, putting it down there, below the burn can. I burned all of it this past week actually. But anyway, cleaned it all up, and I didn't know what to do with the space. There was just weeds and kind of just garbage everywhere, lots of wood, lots of sticks. But I decided to till it up and then possibly plant grass in it next year. But then I got to thinking this would be a great spot for another garden plot. And real quickly, I had an old pack of radish seeds laying around my shop. And as you see, right there, they're starting to come up, which is kind of amazing, because these seeds I've had probably for, I don't know, 3 years or something like that. And the rows are roughly about, 15 feet long, just from the sticks there. But I just wanted to see if they grow, especially because they only have maybe like a 25-30 day, between 20 and 30 day harvest time. So these will definitely, I'll be at it, if these, continue to grow well, I'll definitely be able to harvest these before we get to our fall frost. And anyway, if you look in here with the soil, I'm getting off track, but if you see all this light brown bits here, that's all compost. Very old compost that's probably as compost as it's going to get from in front of our barn. You can see patches of it there with some straw or some hay there. And this soil, we got rain last night, but if you look how fluffy this soil is. And this is just from tilling it a couple times with my tiller, which I'm sure you have seen in my other videos. And I've actually got down probably close to 8 inches, which is pretty good for a tiller. So I'm very anxious to see how this soil performs next year, even without fertilizer. Depending on what I put in here, I won't be putting any fertilizer on it. If you have any thoughts about what you'd like to put, what you would put here, let me know. It's roughly 60 feet by 70 by 40 by 70. So, something like, 4,200 square feet. It's a little less than that, so probably about maybe 3,500 square feet. So give me your thoughts about what you would put there. And we come back over here. And if you can remember, these are where I had a row of carrots, a row of beets, onion, and potatoes. If you see the pitchfork down there, that's where the potato row continues. I've dug up this section of potatoes already. I got a fairly decent amount for the amount of potato plants that came up. I was fairly happy with this. So definitely potatoes will and can grow here. So that's definitely something to grow next year. But the carrot and the beets, and if you remember, everything was getting taken over by weeds. I pulled up all the onions. There's maybe 30 onions. They were little. I don't think any of them were bigger than a golf ball. But still, I have them in the refrigerator, and I've already eaten some of them, and they taste very good. And this is the compost I'm talking about from in front of my barn. It's just been buried for years. And you can tell it is old manure, because you can see there's still pieces of straw, or still pieces of hay that haven't quite decomposed yet. But all this brown, or the dark brown, this is at least 2 years old. So I think it's very well composted. And I'm very anxious to till all this in once we get some more days of sun. This is still a little wet. To till all this in and see just how fluffy the soil can get. If you remember, in the spring I had very big clumps, which I think was a downfall from a lot of things. It was a downfall for the success and the failure of something. Root vegetables like onion, your beet, your carrot, they need a nice fluffy soil. You can't have hard compacted clay, big clumped soil, because the roots will never grow into that. And that was my problem up here. This is the first rows that I did plant this year, back in, I guess it was, the last week of May. And nothing really did well. So instead of trying to pick out little carrots or this and that, I just decided, I'm just going to till it all up, till all the weeds up, till everything. If you see where my pitchfork is, that was basically, see how high the weeds are? They're probably, some of them are 2 feet high. They kind of, this garden, if you see, it's mostly weeds. It got away from me this year. I didn't have the time to come down here and actually hoe it out correctly, plus the soil didn't help. We were real heavy, clumpy soil that never dried out. You try to hoe that, it's almost impossible. Just like drawing rows is almost impossible, which is another reason why this area here didn't work out well, and why also I'm anxious for next year, because I can show you that in another video if you'd like. I have a furrower, I guess I say furrower, that I made that I can put on a 3-point hitch, just made out of wood, because I don't know how to weld or have any metal laying around. But I just made it out of wood, and I tested it on my other plot there, and it seemed to work. But anyway, this is my first rip out. You know, potatoes used to be here, carrots, onion, you know, and this is going to get all tilled up for next year. And also because of the zone, I mean, we're in zone 4B here in Ontario, which is different than 4B in the US. I'm not sure how exactly it works. But they are different. They don't just continue on up. You know, once you hit 5 or 6 in the U.S., it doesn't just jump over to 4. It's a different type of scale. Because down in Ontario, where like London, or not London, what's it called down there? Like way south. I'm not sure what the town is actually called, but below Toronto, Windsor, they're in, I think, zone 7, and zone 7 in the U.S. is down south. So it's definitely different. But anyway, I'll show you what I do have. I know this video is getting long already, but oh well. I got some eggplant right there. See that eggplant? Nice size one. Let's see if we can get in there. There you go. Decent sized eggplant. Next year, eggplant I won't be planting any. There's lots of things I'll mention that I won't be planting any of next year, just due to being poorly grown, or I don't eat it, and Laura doesn't eat it, and there's no sense to grow it if no one eats it. And then here are my peppers, which you can tell by the rings, and they're swallowed up by the weeds. But even before any of the weeds were here, I don't have one pepper plant other than these hot peppers, which are producing. You see that red down in there? See if you can see that right there. See that nice red? These are hot peppers, cayenne pepper. And I also have this one here. This one was a banana pepper, which I picked all of them off, and they don't seem to be producing anymore. But oh well. But other than these couple, my other ones, they're here. They're in the weeds. And they're producing quite a lot, but they're producing quite a lot of little peppers. You know, like here, this is probably the biggest one I have, which isn't little, but I mean, it's not, you know, a handful of softball or baseball size pepper. And we turn right around to the tomatoes. So peppers next year, just to recap, peppers next year, I probably will be planting a couple. Bell peppers, that is, because I do eat peppers and they freeze well, so I definitely want to do some more bell peppers, but not the 30 or whatever that I planted this year. The tomatoes, starting here, the cherry tomatoes did okay. They're producing, they produce right, like all the tomatoes I have planted produce well, but the cherry ones are actually turning right now. Well, you can see that. There are a couple of varieties, like this one here. This one here is probably 4 feet high, and the variety of this one, see if I can find the marker. This is a Brandywine Red. I believe that's what this one is as well. And these plants are still flowering and they're still growing. This one here, this is, you know, this is 4 feet with minimal fertilizer and you know, minimal care. So those are definitely a variety that I can grow next year. My Roma tomatoes, they not quite started. Some of them are starting to turn. But again, the cherry tomatoes and also the ones there, that's an early girl. And I have a lot of early girls, which this is an early girl here, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, and this one here, I mean, this plant, this is almost 4. This is 3.5 feet, 4 feet tall. So these definitely have loads of tomatoes on them. Again, with minimal care, minimal fertilizer. So next year, in lousy soil conditions, if I have better soil, fertilize better, control the weeds, continue to pinch off suckers, I'll definitely have bigger tomatoes next year, which I'm very looking forward to. And again, you can see a couple here turning. These are early girls. Here's some black crim. These aren't turning yet. These are a lot later variety. Just as my my big boy tomato, which is, where are we at? Where's the big one at? Actually, I think this one here is the big boy. And this one's actually starting to turn. But see these size? These are some nice size tomatoes. This here, that's my hand right there.